Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa, and do I have a treat for you? My buddy, Weir from the Road to Roota, is here on a Monday for us, wearing my Road to Roota Freedom Roadshow t-shirt. So you guys hang on. This will be a real treat. We're going to talk about corruption and then a way forward through freedom and truth right after this. Welcome, my friend Weir. How are you today? Whoa, you look handsome with that.
Hey, look at that shirt you're wearing. I'm loving that. Anybody want one of those? We got about 1,000 left over.
Well dressed, and they would go to roadtoroota.com to get one of those, I believe.
I don't even think it's on the site. We'll put something out on how to get a shirt.
Okay, you can follow them on Twitter to find that information out. So lots of corruption everywhere.
There's so much to talk about. It's
so
crazy.
much to talk about. Yeah, I'm just, my head is spinning. I've been trying to get as much information out as we can to help educate the people. I think there's so much distraction right now. You know, everybody wants to talk about Balenciaga and, you know, all this distraction. Meanwhile, there is some really cool stuff. You know, my lieutenant governor just tweeted #gold standard, which we know, like the Oklahoma State Treasury is moved to a gold standard a couple years ago. You've been reporting on the mint.
Wait, the Oklahoma, they didn't go to, I mean, a gold standard would be a monetary system.
Well,
gold
I think that's the plan. Gold. They bought gold.
If they did anything, it wouldn't be a gold standard. A gold standard is a monetary system where gold is used as money.
Okay.
And it's not, I mean, we were not.
I think that's the plan.
Yeah. I think it is too. But we were not on a gold standard all the way up through the 69, all the way up till, you know, we went off in 71. They say we went off the gold standard. We weren't on the gold standard. It was illegal to own gold in the United States before 74. So we really went off the gold standard in 33 when they confiscated the gold. So a gold standard means you use gold as money. You don't use derivatives of gold. You don't use unbacked fiat money. To me, that's a big distinction, because I do think we're headed to a true gold standard where you can use gold coin. You could on the bottom of the coin, they could have a QR code, and you can scan it, so you can keep your coin in a government safe deposit box at the post office or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you can spin little parts of it as you go. So there's the possibilities are endless of where we can go. The key
could have like an NFT on your phone, and you could spend portions of your piece of gold if it's in like a safe at the post office or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it. I guess it would be like an NFT. You would need a smart contract to take little bits off, put little, just like Bitcoin. I mean, it's got a separate ledger. I mean, and as a matter of fact, with the new meta chain that Theta just put out, you can have your own blockchain. The Litecoin Lisa blockchain is up and running on Theta these days, so any company can, and it's all approved. Transactions are approved through the Theta blockchain. I know it's a big deal.
So that would be an NFT. And right before we got started talking, you said that they have also.
I wouldn't say NFT. I mean, people get a little confused. It would be a smart contract.
A smart contract, but non-fungible in that there's one of one. It's not duplicatable.
Right. I don't know if you would necessarily call it an NFT. I would say more likely, I mean, an NFT, a non-fungible token, would be, you know, it's harder to find it. What do you apply it to is the question. What do you, I mean, you could apply it to anything. People have NFTs in their mind as, little Beanie Baby type stuff. When
Yeah, I don't think of it that way. I mean, I guess when I first learned about NFTs, to me, I saw them solving problems, not as artwork or I mean, you could use them for artwork or validating artwork, and I think they would do a lot for artists not having their artwork stolen, and
and being able to sell incremental shares of a single
right,
piece of art.
right,
I mean,
or
basically,
even property.
it's a
Where
smart contract. That's what it is.
Right,
That's what an
right.
NFT
But the smart contract, it's the smart contract, not the item. Uh, I think that's where people have to understand the NFT is not the item, it's the smart contract that
that gets
um,
attached to it.
it's yeah, it's the document. It's like what will help heal um, all of this, a lot of our broken systems on, contracts and people. It takes trust out of contracts. So if you've ever been screwed over by a contract, you could do something in a smart contract and you could do it in a trustless way. Um, and like the VE rents that Reggie was doing with Veritasium platform, you could do that in a smart contract. And
That's why
then,
I think it's pretty much all smart contracts as far as Veritasium goes,
right, right.
which is amazing, which is great, that's why they had to get rid of him, because Reggie
It's
was
a
gonna
market disruptor.
fix this huge problem. And the thing that pissed me off lately, and there's always something that pisses me off,
Oh,
but
I
the
know.
thing
I love it.
that pissed me off lately was Terry Duffy, the head of the CME, the COMEX, coming out
Okay.
and Sam Bankman-Fried is a fraud. They should have come under our system at the CME, where we do things above board with like silver trading, gold trading,
Oh,
commodity trading.
please.
And I'm like, Terry Duffy, of all people, the king of fraudsters, is coming out and all over the financial news saying Sam Bankman-Fried is a fraud, which he is, but that's a different. Let's talk about that.
Okay. So you're going to have to educate me on this because I'm not familiar with this at all.
Okay, so there's the overlying is FTX, second largest crypto
Well,
exchange.
I know about the FTX thing.
Let's do
I'm
that.
not familiar with the whoever you just talked about. This
That's
guy
Sam
saying,
Bankman-Fried.
not Sam Bankman-Fried, the other guy who says he should have come under him.
Oh, Terry Duffy. Yeah,
Terry Duffy. I don't know who
that's
that is.
just a little slight piss off I had.
Yeah, no, the Sam Bankman-Fried thing, I have been like, so I've ordered these books. Whitney Webb is this brilliant investigative journalist lady.
Damn, that's a lot of reading.
Yeah, but it's just documents and everything is public. What
is it about?
So it's all about one nation under blackmail. And she links everything to the Jeffrey Epstein thing. It's all organized crime between our intelligence.
Sam Bankman-Fried is linked to that too.
Right. Yes. It's all linked together. And that's where I'm trying to, which this is going to take me forever. Somebody else is going to figure it out, or she's already figured it out. I just wish somebody I need like one of those charts, an infographic where it shows
you don't want to
see. Yes, everyone needs to see it. Everyone needs to know.
I think you're talking about the infographic of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, thousands of companies.
Yes.
Thousands. And it's like, it wasn't just these couple kids.
It wasn't. And that is what's being pointed at. Mm-hmm. It's being pointed at this cryptocurrency that was just the one little piece that was cryptocurrency in a shell. But what was really going on was BlackRock and the politicians. And, this disgusting Arcane Bear retweeted something that Maxine Waters, they have this thing all pre-scripted. She's like, well, in all the interviews you've done over the past few days in media, you've already given enough testimony. Like they've already pre-scripted it all. They
don't want to bring him in because he's going to blow the whistle. Well, that's the thing. I don't think he could blow the whistle now that he's got himself in plenty of trouble. Caroline Ellison, I hear, is blowing the whistle. Now, remember, there are so many different conspiracies to this story. I think the biggest one is, where did the money go? And how
How much money was there really is what the biggest conspiracy is, because this was derivative money. There wasn't really money. This was
But there
them
was also,
exploding the derivative money, right?
it's not just the derivative. Well, those derivatives, crypto derivatives aren't going to blow up the derivative bomb. That's a different. The crypto derivatives are pretty separate from the financial derivatives that are.
But they brought those financial derivatives into the crypto market.
They tried to,
To
but
hide them or to try to explode them into there and say, okay, well, we can't make them blow up on us on Wall Street and on our markets. Let's go hide them in the crypto market and then say these kids blew them up.
But they were derivatives of cryptos. Is what it was. Ledger X was the company, and they were. It could easily go that it was just a bunch of kids that got themselves in way over their heads, did massive shorts, invested in all the DeFi, had everybody else's money, was trying to make up their losses. We've all experienced this in the past, and it just blew their book sideways. I don't think it was that, though, because Tether, the infamous Tether, owned by Bitfinex, run by the crypto cabal, as I call them, which is all the deep state actors at Digital Currency Group and you name it. They gave them $38 billion worth of Tether. For what? What was the collateral? And they asked a couple months back, they asked not Sam Bankman-Fried, but the other guy who
Alameda, or
the co-president of Alameda. They asked him, how did you transfer the money to get so much Tether?
Because they were sharing a bank account, though. Sam Bankman-Fried and his girlfriend, who runs Alameda, were sharing a bank account.
Yeah, but it didn't have $38 billion in it. So the big question is, did Tether create that money out of thin air, give it to Alameda and FTX to soak up as many cryptos as they can, get everybody depositing their cryptos into FTX, everybody throwing it into Ledger X for the derivatives, and then run away with it because there was no Tether on their balance sheet when they, at the end of the day, when they declared bankruptcy. Not one Tether out of the 38 billion that were given to them. Now the question is, were those Tethers backed by anything? I would say no, they weren't. So Ledger, so Tether, the people at Tether, and we all know some of them, but
Brock Pierce, Steve Bannon. Which the irony that Steve Bannon is interviewing this Darren Beatty, and Darren Beatty's like calling out Brock Pierce and his history in Spain and all the other wild things, which I played on my show on Friday. If you guys didn't see that interview or go back and watch the happy hour. But we get into all the history of all this. I just think it's ironic that now if this is true, and that Tether created this out of nowhere, and everyone's in an uproar. Well, if you go watch Mike Maloney, I shared it with my Patreon group. Mike Maloney did a great job with an education of our current legacy financial system for his group. I think it's a video he did almost 6 years ago or something. It's been a while ago, but the Fed has created money. He has written checks out of a bank account with nothing for years, and no one has held them accountable.
Yeah, but FTX and Tether are not the Fed. Well, the Fed has a mandate signed in 1913 by Woodrow Wilson
that they're allowed to create money out of nothing,
money out of thin air to bail out banks. Now, they don't want to talk about most of the money that they do create. For example, the Fed gave at least $20 billion to Credit Suisse in the last few months. And nobody in America knew about it. Nobody was talking about it. It was announced in the financial newspapers. Like, what does that mean?
And just a few months before that, Credit Suisse came out with a list of all these corrupt bank account holders. What was that I had a whole episode about that. Oh my gosh, I'll have to go back and look.
They're one of the larger, I would say there's about 20 of the very large, ultra large derivative holders in the trillions of dollars. The biggest that we know of, the biggest in the US banking scene is JP Morgan with $60 trillion. JP Morgan has like $3 trillion in assets. but are allowed to have 60 trillion in derivatives, which is the craziest thing ever.
But
Credit
they've been
Suisse,
the largest buyer of silver recently,
well,
correct? They've been trying to
they
sell their
were,
derivatives
they
and
were,
buying physical silver?
they from 2008 when they took over Bear Stearns, and Bear Stearns got nailed with a silver short position. That's what really made them go down.
Okay.
JP Morgan took it over. The Fed bank gave them a backstop of like $30 billion. If you lose that, you're fine. But they went further, and for 8 years they shorted silver and was taking in the physical. So they ended up with 1.2 billion ounces of physical, which is 10 times what the Hunt brothers did, 10 times what Warren Buffett did. And then that's when Trump busted them, and the whole debacle about them getting busted for spoofing. And they had to pay the largest, at the time, was the largest fine ever brought up against any entity trading commodities, and it was $920 million. That same year, they booked a $1 billion gain on the sale of gold and silver assets. So they paid 920. So they made 80 million out of it. I think they made a lot more. And then they leased it all to Bank of America in some crazy deal. And I think that deal has to do with Warren Buffett. It has to do with Elon Musk, and it has to do with the U.S. Mint. Because last year, the U.S. Mint booked $110 million loss on their derivative book in a year that the price of silver went down. So they are required by law to hedge all their silver. So if they buy silver, they take silver into their warehouse, they have to put a short on it so that if there's any change of price between the time they process it until the time they sell it, that would be covered by the derivative, which is net zero, because the U.S. Mint can be making or losing money on the purchase or sale of silver, is what the law says. But for some reason, in 2021, they lost $111 million while the price of silver was going down. Now, to do that, you have to be completely fraudulent with naked shorts and all kinds of, I mean, it's beyond a mistake. $111 million loss on a hedge book, your derivative hedge book. The whole reason to have a hedge book is to take out your losses and gains.
Protect from that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It should be close to zero every year, but the last 2 years when Biden got in, it was $70 million loss and then $110 million loss. Now, the $70 million loss, that was justifiable because the price of silver went up.
Okay.
So they made it back on the price of silver going up. So they should have had a loss in their hedge book. And that's how those two.
And that evens it out. Okay.
The problem is in 2021, the price of silver went down. And yet the loss on the hedge book went down $111 million. That's fraud. That's flat out fraud. Ventress Gibson, the head of the Mint, has never, ever, ever held any kind of Mint job in her life. She's been the head of HR for like 40 years, and she got put as the head of the Mint. And for the Biden administration, if you ask me, there's so much, it's either fraud or cover up or both going on at the Mint.
And isn't this happening around the world, that there are human resource professionals, yes, being put in place in the mints and around the world?
I don't know about, I know the U.S., but I don't know about the around the world.
I had heard in another country or a couple other countries, and now I'll have to look it up to verify that. But that's something people can look into on their own. Everybody needs to be questioning everything right now.
Yeah. With the Mint, the other two crazy things. Number one, they could only make 16 million Silver Eagles this year when they have the capacity to do 40 to 50 million. And we all know, like, the premiums on Silver Eagles are almost double. It is completely out of control. You can't even get a Silver Eagle for less than an 80% premium, which is unheard of. And yet she only made 1/3 of the capacity of the U.S. Mint, and which would be fine. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But she sent out a letter to all the U.S. Mint customers saying, we've greatly increased the capacity of making Silver Eagles. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? You only made 16. Your capacity is 50. You could have made 50.
Right.
And we have, it's just so bad right now. our government, I mean, you don't want to give up on your government, truthfully, but if they've allowed this kind of corruption to infest every part of our government just so the system stays together, is it really worth keeping this government?
Well, and that's where you've, taught us so much over the years about reading what's on the $100 bill, about the preamble of our Constitution, and that, we love America and we love our government, but we don't love the corruption and the tyranny of the government when it's directed at the people. And so we have an obligation to stand up, to educate ourselves, and to stand up against tyranny. And that's where, I think that's what we're all trying to do, is get the word out and have people, everyone has the responsibility of questioning things, doing their research, and thinking about protecting your own wealth, your assets, protecting your family, and speaking out about it. And not just tweeting about it, not just Facebooking, but talking to the people that are supposed to be representing us, talking to our Congress men and women, and talking to John Deaton has a thing on his website where he has a tool that helps people to, if you don't know how or where to, if you feel frustrated and you're involved in cryptocurrency, he has a tool where you can go on there and it will help you find your congressman or woman, and helps you craft a letter to say, I don't agree with what's going on with the SEC right now, and will help you with those kind of things. So those are other things. You can go to crypto-law.com.
You can also go to the U.S. Mint website, and they have all kinds of phone numbers there for different departments, customer service, and they have a bullion department.
I get a text from them every once in a while.
It's time to start pounding them with calls, saying, what the hell? You have the capacity to make 50 million Silver Eagles. The shortage is through the roof of Silver Eagles, such that the premiums are almost double, and yet you only made 16. You only made 16 million Eagles. If there's an eagle shortage, by law, they're still required to buy as many eagles to meet demand. That's the law. They can say whatever they want, but they're breaking the law. And everybody should be calling them saying, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I know your head, Ventress Gibson, just said you've greatly expanded.
Expanded capacity. They should be capable of all that. So I heard that, Andy had that client that had that huge buy, and said that she was going to be purchasing more. Did she ever end up purchasing any more?
She didn't get all her eagles.
She didn't get all.
Whether or not she is purchasing more, if she was my customer, I would advise her, don't tell people again that you're doing this.
Oh.
So I'm sure she's buying a hell of a lot more,
yeah.
But I don't think she'll ever. I mean, it was great. Good on her for shedding light on how hard it was to do. But at the same time, I mean, you're going to get the rest of the world bidding against you if you kind of tell them what you're doing.
Right. Well, and your private, business is your private business, I guess. It's just one of those things when, when you run across things that are just unjust, it does make you want to shout it from the rooftops,
And we should, as citizens of the United States of America, as long as this is our country. Right now, I live in California. I don't even know if this is my country anymore. These people are crazy. And I don't think anything is going to change that, truthfully, because, I mean, all this Twitter stuff comes out. It shows that Twitter was absolutely 100%
complicit.
Not even complicit. They were actively trying to subvert a U.S. election.
Treasonous.
And nobody cared. Nobody in California cares. I'm like, hello.
It's like they expected, it's like, well, yeah, of course they were. It's like, it's just expected.
Or save democracy. That's what they love to say. Save democracy. And I always answer with, hey, we're not a democracy. We're a republic.
Right.
It's the individual rights that count more than the 51%. If you want to live in a democracy, 51% of the people could vote you dead. Is that the world we want to live in?
Right. That's pretty scary. That's really scary.
It is.
Oh gosh. I don't even know what to.
Let's take some questions from the audience.
Questions from the audience.
So out there listening right now?
There's all kinds of wonderful people listening. If you guys have questions for Bix, put them in all caps in the live chat. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking, tell me a little bit about the KYC on Theta. That's news to me. I hadn't heard of that.
Well, the Theta drop, which is their NFT.
Oh, okay. Platform. Yes.
Yeah, they won't accept anybody unless they have KYC. Theta has tried to, since day one, they did an ICO, by the way. So all this talk about Gary Gensler coming and putting the hammer on, it doesn't matter to Theta, at least right now, because they never ICO'd. They never said one way or the other that they were security. Now, he could come after them for the current Theta tokens that are out there. I think Gary Gensler will be gone, truthfully, because of his involvement in the FTX scandal and his involvement at MIT with Glenn Ellison, who's the father of Carolyn Ellison.
Alameda.
And oh, by the way, Barbara Fried, the mother of Sam Bankman-Fried, was a lawyer for Hillary Clinton.
Right. The Coy Pierce or whatever, yeah. Coy, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her husband, Joe Bankman, had an anti-Trump radio, still has an anti-Trump radio show at Stanford. I mean, these are basically anti-Trumpers.
Yeah.
And it looks like Trump
and if you don't think they've been crafting their son's language and the media, his media tour wasn't part of the plan and all this. Yeah. So with that said, Phil C's asking Bix, will SBF be arrested? But also Gary Gensler. Let's keep in mind, though, these guys are all just right now being put into place. But a lot of this stuff, like you're saying right now, happened a long time ago. The Coy, am I saying that right? Coy Pierce? Yeah. It's Hillary's lawsuits and all that. That's back when, what's his name before Gensler? Jay
Powell. No. Jay Clayton.
Yeah. It's almost like these guys are just patsies that are put in place right now. And
he's talking about the SEC, the head of the SEC, if you guys are wondering.
Yeah, the real bad guys are already kind of out of the way and left these patsies to take the fall.
Well, yeah, as far as SBF being arrested, these types of people have no problem sacrificing their children in every which way you can imagine. So he might be sacrificed. He might be disappeared. He might go to a Kinley's Island. He might end up like Jeffrey Epstein. He might, I don't know. And truthfully, I don't care what happens to this guy. But there will be no, let's keep him out of jail because he's my son type of thing. If they did that, there's enough people in the crypto underworld that lost money on this, he would be disappeared in a blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. But we don't want that. We don't want him disappeared. Mm-hmm. We want him to turn state's evidence against his parents, the parents of his girlfriend, and the people involved with Tether. That's the key. They were the ones pulling the strings on this whole thing, because Tether would never lend $38 billion worth of Tether to an entity that they weren't sure they'd get it back. So they did get it back and then some. And I would assume they got back massive amounts of Bitcoin, massive amounts of cash. I did hear that there's another entity that filed for bankruptcy at the same time he did that was linked 100% to the funds at FTX. And that's a standalone entity. No one knows what's going on with that. Basically, the money was stolen. And it was stolen by the people at Tether and the people in the deep state that run Tether. So, yeah. I mean, if you listen to us, you would have kept your cryptos in your own wallet.
In your own possession, yeah.
And no DeFi, my God, people.
And there's no such thing as a stable coin. Would you agree with that? The only stable coin is Bitcoin and Litecoin.
The stable coin is hysterical. When it's audit time, they'll pick up any assets that count as backing and say, these are our assets that back it, and show them a bank account. Nobody knows how many claims are on that, how many assets are pledged to other people, all this shit. It's such a joke. And DeFi, my God, people. Yield farming, my God, people. I mean,
When
there's
it sounds too good to be
1,000
true,
years,
it is.
1,000 years of history of people being conned out of money that way. And I have no idea how it got so big.
Yeah.
But I was
Before we go on to another subject, I want to, as we're talking about the FTX thing and Tether and all of that being related, remember Uncle Cliff's data about the when the money is gone and they can't blackmail these people anymore. And the secrets, the reason they're blackmailing them is to have power over them. And the reason that they have them do the things with the little people is to have the power over them. And so these secrets are starting to come out. I shared a video.
Power over the little people.
No. Over the big people. They use the things with
they use the little people to
have
blackmail, to have power. But they also use the little people as a religious type thing.
Yes,
because
satanic.
Children are the closest thing you can get to godliness. Yeah. And that's what they think. So if they see, I don't want us to get kicked off. So
I know. Well, and I posted, I shared the Kim Clemente prophecy that in 2014 he came out and said it sounds like he's talking about Veritasium and Reggie, and he says that so I'll condense, but he says that the people will become one, and I think that means the end of the two-party system. And he says that America will stop, basically he says eating their children, but he says that they'll stop using their children. Maybe he does use the words eating. Anyway, and he goes into this, and then he says, and America will become one. And I think that means the end of the two-party system, and that we stop seeing red and blue and Republican. This is not a Republican, Democrat.
It won't help us, though. I mean, what we need in America is transparency. We need we need everybody to show their cards. For example, I had like 19 ways to fix the silver market. One of the most important ways, everybody should be able to see every trade and who did it and how much they did it. So we should know if JP Morgan dumps 100 million ounces of silver on a silver market in one trade on a Sunday night.
Sure. Why not? Like that.
We need full transparency when it comes to dealing on exchanges. If you want to deal in markets, we need to get rid of all the regulators. The regulators are too corrupt.
Yeah. The middlemen are what is putting everyone in danger. Yeah.
And it literally makes you think your money's safe when it isn't, because it's criminals running it. But the regulators are just as criminal as how many CFTC regulators were at FTX? 4, I think. 4.
Well, that's what Kim Clemente says, is there's this man that will come along that God put in place. That's no, I think it's Reggie. He said there's a humble man that will heal the gold, and that brings transparency in the gold trades. And it's peer to peer. And I think I sent it to you, and it was like, you start listening at like 1:35 and you listen at 17.
How do you remember all this stuff?
Because I'm obsessed with all this stuff. I can't remember the stuff you remember. I remember other stuff.
I know.
So yeah. And this was a prophecy that he had, in 2014. And then I hear about, what Veritasium is and does, peer-to-peer capital markets, and it's a truth machine. It gets rid of the middlemen, and it does heal. And when I watched this documentary about dirty gold and how horrifying it is to know that, like, because of the things like brokers and because of these middlemen and because there's not transparency in the market, it allows for these things that actually hurt people in starving countries and things, because then the drug dealers need to launder their drug money. So they go to hurting countries and they exploit the people to mine. Like in Peru right now, there are lakes that they've pumped out the water and mined minerals and metals out of this, right near like national parks and stuff. They're stealing the metal, they're stealing the resources from countries and using the people, and the people are fighting people that are trying to tell about it because they're just, even though they're being exploited, it's the only work they can get right now. And they're putting mercury in the water because it helps to separate the metal from the water. And this guy is spinning the metal with his leg in this 50-gallon drum or whatever, and he knows he's going to get cancer or lose his leg or whatever. They know how long they can do it before they get sick. They know it's killing the fish down the stream or killing their water, their whatever. But it's right now they're trying to feed their families, and so they're just being exploited. And I'm just like, the horror of it's more than just about a dollar. It's killing people's lives. It's killing our, talk about killing our planet, the humans, the fish, the everything. I mean, it's just beyond criminal.
The battle is, I mean, because I try to talk as much as I can about taking care of your health. And I have started to live it. Amy and I have been sober for a couple weeks now.
Oh, awesome.
Which is good. But the problem, I didn't take the jab, but the problem is they're putting that shit in the air, in the food we eat, injecting it in the cattle.
I know.
And it is everywhere now.
Chicken is the most highly inoculated food that we eat. Like, it's insane if you look into how much they inoculate those little baby chicks.
Yeah.
We eat them.
I wouldn't say there's nothing we can do. We can do our best. We can, unless you got your own farm and you're living off the land, but still you're breathing the air. There's still spray in the skies. A lot of people notice a lot of new spraying going on.
Mm-hmm.
I would have no doubt in that spray is the
metals and
but besides the normal stuff, this is aerosol jabs type of thing.
Oh,
yeah. So what do? You can't be the boy in the bubble your entire life.
But you can keep fighting. I mean, we have to fight every day. You have to keep educating, eat healthy. Yeah.
Your C60 and your chaga and everything you can.
Yeah.
Get Nana in the house. Check her out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nana.
Oh, is Nana here?
Yeah.
Hey, Nana. Okay. So I've got a bunch of questions up here. I've been hogging you all to myself. I'm sorry. Jim Montgomery wants to know Bix Roadshow announcement for 2023. So we know probably in February, we're going to be Amy and Paigey and Joshy and I are going to drag you out.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, I 2023, I'll do music.
Yeah.
I don't want to like live in an RV for months on end anymore in 110-degree weather. I had my last year was the year of the rock star. So I did that.
Been there, done that, got a shirt.
I'll do here and there rock star stuff because I want to spend more time playing music and writing songs. And I think by the end of this year, our government will be either in tatters or a new government. I think the silver market, that little problem will be solved, and cryptos will be more transparent by the end of, maybe leaking into a little 2023. So it'll more be like a celebration tour of singing songs and having fun instead of trying to teach people, because people will learn by fire by then.
And by building new things, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's a lot of things. I mean, I don't invest in cryptos or silver just to have cryptos and silver. You do it to secure your family, but then I want to invest in stuff, things I'm interested in, people I'm interested in. Somebody comes to me with a great idea, I'm saying, yeah, let's go do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm so excited about. The whole, I got really excited about like Bet on Main Street and what the future is going to look like again. And I think that we're going to have this opportunity. I've never been a trader or any of that. I've always said like the cryptos that were building and growing and looking for the future, it's future money. And when Andy was here, you introduced us to Andy Scheckman, and built that relationship, and I got to interview him a couple times, and he had that really voice of reason about how silver it's not about number go up or to make you so rich and wealthy and whatever. It's about preserving your wealth during a time of chaos. And Uncle Cliff says, you won't like the world with $600 silver, and but you might be really glad you have it. And I think it's going to be an opportunity
on that front right there. When is the comic going down? Lisa, when is the comics going down?
Will the comics go down? I don't. So that's the other thing. I don't understand this. I don't know if the comics is like. So I think the Fed will go away, because I think the Fed is not a healthy part of our constitutional government.
Comics is not either.
Okay, then bye-bye comics. It'll be gone when the Fed's gone.
So the comics is a derivative exchange, and that's where they rehypothecate silver, and that's the only exchange on the planet that determines the price of silver.
So before Christmas.
Yeah, I made that prediction in 1999. I said at least by December. But here we are in 2022, moving into 2023. But again, we have never been closer. There's never been so many eyes on it. They just had a silver roundtable with some of the biggest silver players in the world, including like Mitsubishi and some of the gigantic players. And they said, well, what's your outlook for gold next year? And I said, gold will have a great year. It should be up 8 to 10% by next year with all that's going on. And they said, what's your outlook for silver? And normally they say, yes, silver just the same. They said silver at least 50% gain by next year. The reality of what's going on with silver, with the Green New Deal and all the reasons to buy silver, and just throw on top the manipulation ending with JP Morgan and Bank of America and Rustin Benham, the head of the CFTC, who said, let's tamp down the price of silver. They did that with derivatives, and they were derivatives that lasted less than a year from last December. So at the end of this December, we should see something happen. Now, our friend Jenny Moonstone has always said from day one, silver won't be allowed to go free until the kids are freed.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot on that front too that is looking like
there is
coming to fruition.
And a lot of things happening with the indigenous. I'm in Oklahoma, and there's been several court cases for the first time ever in over 200 years that it's been promised to the indigenous people that there has a seat in Congress is actually being given to tribal people in Congress. That's the first time ever. And there is
in the Senate or in the House. Because if it's in the Senate, that's a big deal because that breaks the tie.
I believe so. I'll have to go look, but I believe it is. I think it was, I want to say it was for the Cherokee tribal leader. I'll have to go look. I don't want to misspeak, but
the thing about that that's so important to this understanding is that back in 1913 or 1912, 1910, when they found all that gold in the Grand Canyon, it was on the land of in the Navajo Nation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why they have all those gambling casinos and all that. They're like, we understand that this is your land, this is your metal, we want to use it, but they're like, fuck no, we're poor. Right. So they said, well, how about if we give you these Indian casinos that you can make a hell of a lot of money from in the meantime, while we're hiding all this wealth from the people of the world. So I think it makes full on sense that the Native Americans would have a seat at the table in the Senate because of what they're about to bring forth as a use of money in the future, which will be
that's something everyone can go look up for themselves and do their own research. Also, the new Treasury head is Native American woman, the new, I sent you that because I was freaking out about that. And there's one other big, the tribal lands. There's a Supreme Court decision about tribal lands being given back to the rights with tribal lands being given back to the people here in Oklahoma. And being able to, it's the McGirt case, and it's something about like the feds, not the feds. What is it? It's about being able to hold people accountable for criminal acts on tribal lands if the tribe doesn't hold them accountable. And I think that's about protecting the children, because there's a huge problem with missing tribal women and children. Like a huge, and National Geographic is doing a huge documentary on it. Everybody should go look into that. That's going to come out as well.
And also, I mean, if you go back, you follow that thread back to what was going on in Canada.
Yes.
The tribal people in Canada and the Queen and all that.
And connected with the churches and the Masons.
It gets back to God again. They see the Native Americans as closer to God than your average Joe, which they probably are. They're more in tune with nature and things like that. And that's a big driver of why these people abuse the kids.
Right. Well, and in that documentary that I shared about the little ones, it talked about how the foster care system and the some of the church adoption groups were involved in moving the kids around and maybe being less than honest about some of that. And that just weighed so heavy on me because I know there's both sides to all of that,
Yeah. And what about what was it, the Bush family, that big scandal in Lincoln, Nebraska?
And that's where there needs to be so much transparency, because kids are only safe when there's transparency in those cases.
And that's the thing, though. They find these people, it's on the front page of the paper, and then all of a sudden it disappears, and we get Bushes all over like the Bush family all over our government years and years later. I mean, that's how much power these evil people have. And I am, I was skeptical in the beginning when Snippy was talking about that court case, these guys, going to the Supreme Court saying, what is it?
The Brunson Adams.
Yeah. I was skeptical at the beginning, but as we get closer and closer, I'm like, hey, wouldn't it be great? And now's the perfect time.
That is why. So that I've been talking about this for a long time, that people kept saying, oh, well, that keeps getting shut down in the courts. And I'm like, no, it
keeps moving.
The courts were saying it's not appropriate to be heard here because it needs to be heard somewhere else. Just like the Roe v. Wade thing. It's not that the Supreme Court changed anything. They just said it's not appropriate to be heard here. It needs to be heard at the state's level. And that is but then the media twists the words and misleads the public. And the public doesn't read anything past a headline because they're so busy working and paying taxes on loans, on interest on loans that was written from a bank account that had nothing from the Fed.
So that gets us to this question here. What needs to happen to transition into a new financial system? It's actually really, really easy.
Tell us.
One too big to fail bank go down. That would destroy every single bank on the planet, every credit card company, every stock, bond, you name it, the crypto exchanges, all of it would be gone instantly. No ATMs, no nothing. All it takes is one. Credit Suisse might go down. Deutsche Bank should have gone down. They got bailed out. JP Morgan should have got down. All the banks should have gone down in 2008. We had our chance.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, the first time they voted for bailout in Congress, they voted no. And the stock market dropped 50% right after that vote. And all of a sudden, oh my God, we have to bail them out. Right. So I don't know if Congress will be in session anymore. If this, that court case is heard in the next couple of weeks, which I don't think it's heard. I think the decisions
are. Even they are a middleman because now with technology, we don't need them.
See, that's the key is you can't have a decider to destroy the system. It has to be destroyed on its own. And the only way to do that, Alan Greenspan figured out long ago, was to unregulate the derivative market, make it grow so big. And right now it's $2.5 quadrillion that if there's any kind of kink in it, boom, it explodes the whole thing. And that's exactly that's where we're at right now.
That's where we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think as soon as the ATMs go off, that's it. We're going to have to transfer. And that's the funny thing is this is like an open discussion of what's the next monetary system. It's on the news. It's at the World Economic Forum. Everybody's talking about this shit, and they're saying, "Oh my God, our financial system's about to go. What's happening?" Nobody's saying that. They're just saying, "Oh, they want to do this." And the Road to Roota documents, it was very clear in the teacher's guide. There's nobody who's going to be the decider. It's not going to be Nesra or Jess. Nesra was signed in like 1998 into law. How'd it go for that? There's no Nesra. There's no Jessner. There's no XRP solution. None of it.
It's banksters deciding because there's not going to even be banks, or will banks serve people in a different way?
There will be no banks.
There will be no
banks. If there are banks, then the same system is there. And 98% of the money is owned by 0.001% of the people. That's the problem is misallocation of wealth now. Since 1913, they just spread all these paper dollar bills all over the world.
And so they'll try to roll out the CBDC.
Maybe.
So if the banks go boom and everybody's bank account is gone, well, then their loans are gone too, right? Their debt is gone too.
Your debt is gone.
And then
I'm not advocating going into debt. That's a
no,
dilemma you gotta fight.
Not. Yeah,
that's a karma thing.
Yeah, you don't want that kind of, and you just don't. We can't promise anything or when and where something's going to happen. You don't want to be in a bad situation.
But how about this? How about a CBDC linked by Veritasium to gold? So you have a central bank digital currency. You've got the United States. We have 8,000 tons supposedly in our vaults of gold in the United States. It's probably 800,000 tons or more, 1 million tons. Let's just say we have 1 million tons of gold. And to interact with that, we'll put a little QR code on the bottom of each coin, and you can spend 1/1,000,000th of an ounce of gold going to the grocery store with your iPhone with the U.S. government CBDC, which just so happens to be backed by gold and silver with the identifier because nobody trusts the people.
And they could do that with the NFT created by Theta Drop that everybody's KYC'd through.
Yeah, I mean, we could use it with Veritasium.
Yeah.
I mean, he invented it. They gave him a patent for it.
Yeah.
And they gave him a patent if they're not going to use it. And by the way, not to stir the conspiracy pot, 98 million tokens are just sitting there. They didn't sell them. They're not doing anything with them. They're just sitting there frozen.
He says that he will never accept those.
Well, he might accept them if 100% of them are given back to him and they erase the entire case. If they gave him back without erasing the agreement he made, he can't do anything with it because he's forbidden for life for dealing in cryptocurrencies. He can't do it under the agreement. He can't create a new crypto using his technology either.
If he never touches it, if he never uses crypto,
he can't.
I would think there's ways around it.
Well, I mean, for him personally, yeah, he's got the patent. They can pay him for the patent, but he can't link that to a crypto. According to the agreement that he signed, it might have been under duress, which I'm sure it was, and it was criminal what they did to him. But he did agree not to deal in cryptos.
Not to create another crypto.
Or deal in them, I think.
I don't think that's the wording, but
it was pretty harsh. The wording was pretty harsh. He couldn't be a CEO of a crypto company. He couldn't deal in cryptos anymore. Now, could he enforce his patent? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that happened after the agreement.
Yeah. And actually, there's another one coming out. So
I think
more things.
the best thing for Reggie and the crypto community is say XRP wins their case, which I think they will, because I mean, clearly Veritasium is a software. That's what he got the patent for, is a software. So I mean, I don't know what the argument is at the CFTC, although he already came to an agreement with them just so he could live.
Yeah, we did the part 3 of the unpacking the amicus brief last night or yesterday and released it this morning. And in our closing argument, or maybe it's in somewhere in part 3, they talk about that actually, or our attorneys said that really they would see the token actually being more appropriately handled as a commodity and being regulated something more like the CFTC than.
They're a criminal organization. I don't know why.
Well, I trust me, I agree. I think why ask permission? Why do we keep asking permission from these legacy systems
Because
when
they go after you if you don't. That's the problem with the SEC.
Well,
They're going after people without any kind of laws.
that's the thing. It's
I know.
just crazy to me that it's like, they keep making law. Well, and that's part of the problem is that Congress is not doing their job for the people.
And
You
then
know, they are these selected, not elected politicians that are, busy building their legacy wealth by putting their children in these businesses, getting paid by China and whatever, as they stifle innovation in America and run business out of America. I mean, talk about treasonous behavior. We were looking into the Hobbs Act. It's actually a felony with, I think, up to 22 years of prison time you can get for stifling innovation and commerce in America. I think somebody should look into that because there sure is some of that behavior going on.
And when they do look into it, watch the Gary Gensler cryptocurrency lectures, where he says in his class, hey, you want to make some money with a new invention, you have to do it with the bankers. You have to give them like 50% of your business if you want it to work. It's what he told his students of his class. Now that's stifling innovation at the core level of an MBA student at frickin' MIT.
Yeah, he told them 30 to 50% or create a token to give them if you want to, because he said that there are mechanisms in place to prevent new market makers.
That's what happened to Reggie. That's it right there. The mechanism is a corrupt SEC.
And that's why they went after Library also, because Library is a market disruptor for things like, WhoTube. Yep. And all the rest, the buddies that are the market makers and that control the narratives and all that. We all know what's going on here. You can choose any car you want as long as it's black. So there is a Uncle Cliff's high emotional tension release coming up on December 13th. We also, this week is Pearl Harbor Day on the 7th. I wondered if you thought, and it's a full moon. I don't know if you're talking to Jenny this week.
I am. Oh, I'm talking to her on the 7th.
Are you going to talk to her Wednesday?
No, Thursday.
Wednesday. Okay. Wednesday's the 7th, the full moon. So maybe that night. So then the next day you'd be talking to Jenny. The 7th is Pearl Harbor Day. And then emotional release is the 13th, which is the following Tuesday.
If you go back to November 11th, 11/11/22, that was the day that FTX was taken down.
Which that's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. That's all the twos in numerology.
Yep. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I know.
I know you love that stuff.
I love it.
Cliff's emotional tension release. He said it's what 10 times the size of what FTX was. I think it probably has to do with could be Twitter stuff, could be stuff about revelations about the kids. There was a question earlier. Do I recommend buying silver or cryptos right now? I would say silver 1,000%.
Right.
Silver is
Silver will go first.
Silver is, well, I don't know if it'll go first.
Well, that's what Cliff said. He said or I don't know if Jenny said the kids, then silver, then crypto, but Uncle Cliff has always said silver first, then cryptos.
Okay. But I think the obvious thing, I mean, silver, all they can do is the same shit, naked short on the comics. It's the same game over and over and over again. With cryptos, we know what the biggest hammer is they have, the takedown of Tether. When Tether goes away, who knows how much the crypto cabal owns? Tether is part of the digital currency group and all that. They own like what, 3/4 of all cryptos?
I don't even know. I don't even know the numbers on Tether. I was shocked to hear that EOS had 7 billion.
But that's the same people.
Market cap.
That's the exact same people.
Okay.
They're all it's the crypto cabal, I call them, and that's the biggest problem with crypto is that group of people control so much of it, and they got it criminally. So and they're part of that, the MIT Epstein cult.
Because I had a friend recommending that I read this book called People something by what was it? Anyway, and it's like this whole More Equal Animals by Dan Larimer. And
ooh, stop right there. Let's talk about Dan.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very curious because they're like he's trying to has this utopian it's kind of actually it sounds like when you go to kids basketball games and it's like, okay, there's a group of 2 kids play, and then he's talking about using that as like a voting system to be a more equal democracy.
Dan Larimer is deep state. His father works for the CIA or the NSA or one of those. He was one of the first guys to get into Bitcoin through his father in the very early days. Invented, what was that thing that Jeff Berwick pushed it for a while. What's that first crypto he invented? And then
Larimer did?
Yeah, and then he went to EOS, and then he went to something else.
Oh, Steemit.
Steemit, yeah.
Yes.
Where they were,
and now it's called Hive.
They were stealing all kinds of coins behind the scenes, and it was centralized, completely centralized. And they'd pump up like Jeff Berwick got pumped up because
he admitted it. He said they sent him a crap. I remember watching Berwick on it, and he's like, I did one video, and they sent me like thousands of dollars of Steemit.
Yeah, and then they were literally they would set up their own random Steemit channels that would get all these votes and all this shit. So all the money was funneled back into the people controlling the blockchain. And then Dan Larimer went to EOS, completely criminal. And then he did something else completely criminal. And it was just.
But he's making it sound like it's this utopian, can't decentralized, can't be.
Exactly. Remember when Brock Pierce said he'd donate $1 billion? I'm going to donate $1 billion to whatever. Nobody saw a penny. It's like Sam Bankman-Fried. I'm going to save the world for democracy and all that.
Yeah, that's true. When they start saying they're going to do all this,
it's the same thing.
But you watch their actions, not their words.
Or just dive in and say, who are these people and what are they doing to our country and to our currencies? And I mean, Bitcoin, amazing invention. Satoshi Nakamoto, amazing entity. I don't know if it's a man or a woman or a group. We did a remote viewing on who.
You did?
Yes,
I missed it.
It came back. There were 4 people that Dick Allgaier saw. Number 1 was John Kimony, the guy who invented BASIC. So basically, they from what I think they got in this remote viewing is how did Bitcoin come into being?
Okay.
Because even Satoshi said, I worked on, I got this idea from this person and this idea from this person. So it goes back to John Kemeny, the guy who invented BASIC in the 1960s. Then it went to Alan Greenspan. He drew the perfect picture of Alan Greenspan, who invented electronic banking.
Which you've been saying that forever.
Yeah. He invented electronic banking. He was the world's best electronic financial computer programmer. Mm-hmm. And then it went to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs put the computer in your hand.
Yeah.
Which was absolutely necessary if we're going to go to a peer-to-peer cash system. And then there was a fourth guy. And that's the guy that it was a younger guy that
Charlie Lee.
No, I don't think it was Charlie. No. I don't know who the fourth guy was. I didn't recognize the description or the entity. And then, other remote viewers said there was four guys from China who invented it. So nobody really knows.
Yeah.
But we'll know if the U.S. government was involved when the system crashes. And if the U.S. government says, okay, we have all Satoshi's Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and all the other derivatives of Bitcoin because, yes, we were involved in the very first mining of, we are Satoshi. And it could be because, I have said it my most likely person, if we had to be one person, would be Alan Greenspan. Mm-hmm. And the reason I said that was, 50 years of computer programming experience. And Satoshi said he'd been working on this idea for 2 years. Well, Alan Greenspan left the Fed in 2006, and the white paper was published in 2008.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, that's the 2-year mark. And who's the only person on the planet who could never say, I am Satoshi? It's the head of the Fed. Not that he'd ever want to. Clearly, Satoshi didn't give shit about money.
Well, yeah. And Bitcoin has so much. I mean, really, if money is destroyed and Bitcoin is used for exchanging value, if Bitcoin is just the way if it's just the way we value things, but really our value is our energy. For years that's kind of that is how we've been enslaved, mm-hmm. is that they've used money to tell us, oh, here, store your value in this. And then when we went to sleep at night, they stole our money. They enslaved us by stealing our energy while we slept by printing it.
Mm-hmm. But remember, these days, because gold and silver has been pushed out of the psyche of 99.9% of the people, even the bad guys. I mean, Pelosi counts her money in fiat money. I have $100 million type of thing. If the banks go, she got nothing.
Right. So with one of these questions, I want to ask you about this because I watched, I think Pawn Stars has done a great job lately with trying to educate people about money. Historically, they've been doing different things on coins, paper money, old banknotes, silver certificates, war bonds or war notes or something like this. And so the question is, will regular silver bullion be accepted after the Fern's dead, or only American silver eagles? And in the road to Roota, Roota goes to the bank, and she gives a piece of paper and gets gold coins back. And then in the
versa, you can't tell which way they're going.
Okay, I guess you can't tell which way it's coming or going. But in Pawn Stars, he talks about these war bills or something. I don't know if they were silver certificates. I don't know. They were these war promissory notes or something that when the war was over, you had to hold them for 2 years. And then when the war was over, you went to the bank and gave it, and you got coins. You got the gold value of your coins back. And I'm thinking about, we're in this war right now. People are calling it an information war or whatever, but we are in war right now, but people aren't aware of it. A lot of people, when the banks go away, and remember, I've showed you the videos of the ITMs and all that have the coin distributor. Could we go to something? Could there be a time where people take their old dirty fiats and put it in and get coins out And that's some of that what's being held at the mint. What do you see as this? Do you see a way that this transition kind of happens? What does that look like
It doesn't look like
as the fern dies?
it doesn't look like what you just described.
Okay.
Fern, because there won't be any. A very small amount of the currency is in physical form.
Is in fern money.
And there's two different kinds of currency right now in the United States of America.
Right.
There's physical, two different kinds of physical. There's the fern. Federal Reserve note is an IOU from the Fed. Those will all just go away, be useless, paper. They're mostly electronic. They'll just go away with the $2 quadrillion derivative collapse. They're just all gone.
Okay.
It'll be instant. Then there's U.S.
coin from the mint,
made by the U.S. government, made by the mint. Now, those have gone through iterations over the years, changing the content of them up until it used to be. They used to use the Mexican peso as the U.S. dollar, and that's the original. The original definition was based on the peso.
In the Constitution?
Yeah, of the dollar. It didn't say peso, but it was 0.39878 whatever grains of fine silver was what the same as the Mexican peso. Because a lot of people were using Mexican pesos for their silver coinage. And then the U.S. Mint started taking it. And then, well, remember, Mexico has been and still is the largest known depository of silver.
Yes. And when silver went negative on DJT Day, Trump, or no, I'm sorry. When oil went negative on DJT Day, Trump said, don't worry, Mexico will pay us back at a later day some other way.
I think he was talking about, it wasn't oil. He was talking about building the wall, right?
No.
And he said Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
No, he wasn't talking about that.
Okay.
It was on the day that oil went. He was talking about doing Mexico a favor, and we're storing oil for them or whatever. I watched the whole thing, and
what's DJT Day?
Donald J. Trump Day. So 6/14, whatever his numbers, the year. Yeah.
That's cool though. So back to the currency.
And USMCA, make America, Canada, US, Mexico great again.
Okay. I believe you.
I know. Thank you.
Now you threw me off. So look,
I know. Sorry. Yeah.
Will regular bullion be accepted? See, that's the question. And there's a good reason to have a question mark at the end of that.
Yeah.
It's one of those unknowns. Whether or not, it's even unknown whether or not the U.S. government will accept U.S. mint coinage, like the normal coins. It's just unknown. There's so many unknowns because we've never been, the global monetary system has never been fiat. And now that it is, there's plenty of examples of fiat currencies collapsing all around the world. Germany obviously is the most famous one, and Argentina, and it's Zimbabwe, all that stuff. And it usually ends up with printing all these pieces of paper. Well, now we have electronic money, and there's no limit on the amount you can print, but there's also never been a global fiat monetary system. And now we're going to go through a situation where there's never been a global fiat monetary system that fails at the exact same time.
Well,
because
and he's
all
saying,
going down.
Will it be accepted? We're probably going to move into a bartering system where it's not about being accepted by a government. Our government's going to be defunct for at least a period of time.
I don't know. I mean,
well, we don't know, but you'll be, the things that are minted by the government may have more easily identifiable and maybe trading value
money.
or whatever.
Right.
But it's like if you're wanting to trade with someone and you have what you have, and somebody's going to set a price and say, well, if you have silver eagles, I'll give you 5 apples.
That won't happen.
But if you have silver bullion, I'm going to give you 3 apples.
They don't. But see, you're talking about an understanding of monetary stuff that Nobody has in society. Very few people have. I mean, cryptos have been great to get people thinking about monetary issues like that.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of people have no idea what a
Don't
silver
really
coin
understand.
is, or I mean, I don't think it will be that valuable in barter in the first couple months. I think I don't think that. Well, I think paper dollars might be for a little bit, but not very
Yeah.
long. Silver coins, yeah. Barter like bottles of wine, absolutely. Bottles of whiskey, cigarettes, shit like
Things. Yeah.
that. But at the same time, I do know that our government has been planning and thinking about this for over 100 years. And that was very clear in the Federal Reserve documents on the road to Roota that originated in 1981 and then were redone in 2007, right before the 2008 crash. And if you read through those documents, all they're talking about is, okay, after the crash, like one of the questions was, will trade start up again? It's like, wait a minute, why would trade go down? Well, there's no money. You can't. There's no trade if you don't have any money that both sides accept. So it says, will what was it? Will the people of Pebbleton trade with the Canada? One was Canada and one was Mexico. And the answer was they didn't know. And will the government take over mines? That's a big thing, because if there's no money left, and the government's the worst people to take care of anything. So, and if there's no government, no functional government, I mean, there's all kinds of questions that will be brought up, and that's why the can has been kicked for so long. I do think they're going to stop kicking the can. I think we're at that time when the can stops kicking. But I think they also have, like the old not Treasury Secretary, the old head of the Mint director. What's his name? I just had it in my head. He was right before the current one. David Ryder. David Ryder, he was a Mint director back in the 90s too. He understands what a mint is and how important it is. He's the guy who put that little notch in the bottom of the silver and gold eagles. He also was in charge of the redesign of the silver eagle. Now, a lot of people say, what redesign? Look at the back of the eagle. It's an eagle flying. What's the big deal? It changed to an eagle with a little branch in his claws coming in for landing. And the way David Ryder explained is as if he's adding it to the nest. Now, that's what I think has been going on since 1913. The U.S. government has been planning this. They've been stocking up on gold and silver coinage. I think there's massive amounts of gold and silver coinage ready for this introduction of a new system. It won't be easy, but there's massive amounts. So, and I don't know which coins will be accepted, or, the question was, is bullion going to be accepted, which is different from coinage.
Yeah.
Andy Scheckman had talked about Mr. Gold, what's his name? Jim Sinclair, who was very connected in the government, said all along that physical silver other than U.S. coinage would be nationalized for industry. And then the coinage, which you have to keep a control on the amount of coinage issued, would be the money. So, I mean, my bet is that the money that the U.S. Treasury has already issued out of the U.S. Mint will be good standing as money and wouldn't be nationalized. I don't think they can nationalize without paying fair market value, though, either. And I don't think anybody would turn in their silver unless they gave people a lot of money. And then what would the money be? Right? You wouldn't accept fiat money. You'd accept, I don't know what you'd accept.
People want digital money, though. I mean, everybody pays at least.
That's a different world.
But you don't think they would trust it?
Oh, right away. It was like, hell no. Are you kidding?
We did that before. It just crashed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't think they'd make them whole with the CBDC?
Yeah, but
they couldn't guarantee it. Yeah.
Who's issuing the CBDC? That's the central bank.
Yeah.
That's the Federal Reserve System, which is not part of the government.
And it's created out of nothing once again.
Yeah. All their digital money and all their pieces of paper are worthless. Why would anybody accept the CBDC unless it was backed by something? Which I think any CBDC that would be issued by the U.S. Treasury and not the Fed. I think
So
the Fed.
then the audit would have to happen and be shown to the people
Yeah.
that there was an
Remember
actual audit.
the Roota stuff, where'd it come from? The Fed. The
The
Fed
Fed.
Boston.
Yeah.
There's people in the Fed who have known this is going to happen for over 100 years. It's just, how's it going to go down? They don't even know. I mean, it was 65 questions in the teacher's guide with no answers. I mean, if I was a teacher trying to teach this stuff, I'm like, how the hell you gave me a teacher's guide with no
Give me a
answers?
teacher's guide with no answers. This is not very helpful.
Just one question.
Nana's asking when 5K silver. Do you believe silver will go to something like that?
Oh, well, see, that's the thing. 5,000 Federal Reserve notes. What the hell is that worth? Nothing.
Nothing.
In
Yeah. So you're comparing it to dollars.
Right.
So will it start being compared to
whatever the new money is, or what's the purchasing power? I think 1 ounce of silver will buy you a car. So
okay.
equivalent to say 10 grand, a normal car. You 5 ounces of silver will buy you I don't know, a really nice car. A 100-ounce silver bar will buy a house, that type of stuff.
Yeah. That kind of thing. And I kind of think that it's going to, if we go back to valuing silver and then look at it, the comparison of metals, when Westwood and I go out, we teach our classes, when we talk about mining and we talk about cryptocurrency and the parallels of that it takes energy to mine. I think that they could revalue. There's been this big scam here in Oklahoma about, with the outages and whatever, and this last winter and whatever, that they really screwed everybody over on their electric bills and their gas bills and all this kind of stuff. And I kind of think with that exploitation, there's going to be an education that comes along with it, that people are going to learn about the cost of energy, possibly even the nuclear being a better option. You don't think so? But I could see
we've had better options for over 100 years.
Like hydrogen, you're thinking?
There's like 50,
or the Tesla energy.
How about water? H2O.
That's what I'm saying. Hydrogen, yeah.
Take the H2O, take the Tesla energy,
Yeah.
0 point energy. There's a million ways.
Free energy, all that.
They didn't want us to have it because like over 50% of the economy is run on the hydrocarbon model. But after the system breaks, that's where we're going to see all the new energy technologies. All of a sudden, Bitcoin won't be expensive to mine anymore, and everybody will do it because, energy is free, which adds a lot more complication.
So then you wouldn't be able to tie energy to, because I was thinking maybe you could tie energy as, instead of counting money in dollars, or people are saying Satoshis like would be the new dollar. You would maybe say kilowatts would be the new dollar way of counting. No.
I mean, it's such a mind-bending twist to say that money gets valued through energy.
Yeah.
After the crash. After the crash, where
it's hard to know.
Everything's going to be different. Like right now, yeah, you can say that because I've heard Ben's long argument on that, and I'm like, I agree. Okay, if energy is free,
then how do you count it?
Does Bitcoin have any energy value?
Right.
So that kind of throws that argument out. Everything will
because Bitcoin's value is then the tool of truth of history, I would think.
The beauty of Bitcoin and Litecoin is that the scarcity factor. Digital scarcity is the most important invention in history because we don't know the scarcity of gold and silver. We don't know the scarcity of anything anymore. And we never will know the scarcity of gold and silver. So how do you use it as money? I mean, look what happened in 1913, right? They found massive amounts of gold and silver in the Grand Canyon, or gold, at least in the Grand Canyon, and had to shut down the whole monetary system because of it. Why? Because there'd been too much gold in the system. And all it was is a discovery. And what happens when we start mining asteroids and shit like that? Or what happens if we find that half of the earth is made of gold and we didn't even know about it? You just dig a little deeper and you have a 40-foot layer of gold, solid gold metal. Like, who knows?
Right. But and we have to get the census right first, too.
Yeah. so many problems to be fixed.
So many problems. Yeah, Jean-Claude's watching in the chat. Thanks for watching, and he had a great interview with 107. And 107 was talking about what you've been talking about for years, about the hoards of gold hidden in America.
I know. I told him about it.
Well, good. There's been
said, hey, dude, look at all the gold.
Yeah. So there were a lot of things in that interview that I feel like we've all been screaming about for a while. And it's cool to see it all kind of coming together. I think for me, that's even more of a confirmation that it's all happening right now. And that it's all there's so many pieces that are just all coming together right now that I could see it happening really quickly. Just like the FTX, never waste a good crisis.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Go to waste, yes. I'm the worst.
One of the CFTC commissioners actually said that in when she was talking about FTX. She goes, "Never let a good crisis go to waste. It's time to make." And I was like, first of all, you're calling this a good crisis where people lost what, $20 billion of their money, and you're calling it a good crisis, you crazy bitch.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said.
They're evil in a very special way. So,
in a very special way, like the Special Olympic way.
Yeah, in a horrible way. I mean, they're just that whole thing about how they love to put, because of the satanic ritual stuff, they love to have that for the karma. They have to have that plausible deniability, so they put it in your face.
Yeah.
And then they get off on that. Yeah. And that's what when I was the other day, I saw somebody talking about that from Hollywood or whatever, and how they were just announcing it to everybody. And I thought, oh, I just had big pharma commercials come into my mind. Oh, that makes so much sense why big pharma does all their commercials, and they tell you all the side effects, well, we warned you, we told you, so just right in our face. Yeah. Do you think could this be the Christmas of 100,000 K Bitcoin? I mean, could it go that fast? When it goes, could it go that fast?
I don't like Bitcoin.
You don't?
No, not at all.
Interesting.
No, I love the invention,
mm-hmm.
but I know the core developers are so fucking corrupt. Digital Currency Group runs the whole show. So, I mean, take people out of Bitcoin, I would love it, but they run the show. So that's why Roger Ver split off is they wouldn't increase the size of the blocks, and that's why all the altcoins got invented. This is run by the most, and Digital Currency Group is knee deep in Tether and Bitfinex and
Copa,
FTX and all of it. And all the DeFi was a setup. I was telling everybody, I got on your show. I was like, this is a setup.
Yeah.
I screamed it. What was that? Celsius.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make money out of thin air. That's called a Ponzi scheme.
They're just rebuilding the legacy financial system in crypto world.
But
that's what it was.
So fast.
Did.
Because those legacy people they're looking for any way to suck the wealth out of the little people, especially the crypto people. How many crypto people lost money in that thing? And that's the greatest thing for the bad guys.
But it was all, wasn't it all like number go up? Like it was a lesson. I felt like it was kind of a lesson in, like a tough lesson. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of the education that people, better for them to learn now as a kid than
it's the greed factor,
right?
People only buy things that are going up. That's why I can take a shit coin, for example, Dogecoin. Elon Musk tweets, "Oh, I like Dogecoin." All of a sudden, it just skyrockets.
Yeah, pumps
and
up.
why do people buy in? Not because Elon said it. They buy in because the price was going up. And then they all sell when the price goes down. And that's the thing. I do think we have to get to the bottom of who took the money, if there was money. And I do think there was billions that were stolen in Bitcoin and in cash from FTX. You want to know who did it? Just go right to Tether. The people who control Tether, they ended up siphoning. They gave the $38 billion to FTX, and then they took it away and sold it off for Bitcoin and all this stuff. And it was ridiculous. Now they're back right where they were, 60 billion in FTX. It was 100 billion. And it's just so obvious when you stand back and say, oh my God, this was more than a Ponzi scheme. It was a way to siphon out cryptos and cash from, I wouldn't say innocent investors, but people who trusted the system. They trusted their sports celebrities and who have no clue what's going on at all. Right. Can you imagine?
Who are literally just paid to say what, yeah. I'm pretty sure he has like head injuries from football and people are listening to him. I mean, I don't know what people are thinking. He's paid to say what he's told to say, and he probably has I'm sure he has a agent and attorneys and whatever that go through his deals and make those deals for him even, so Joshi is asking about thoughts about Digibyte as a means of exchange, but I've always heard you sing about Litecoin being a means.
Litecoin is the right coin as a means of exchange. Yeah, Digibyte, I get what they tried to do, but I don't think it'll catch on. They tried to limit the amount of coins that they make and the way it was, the white paper was put together and all that. It's not bad, but it's not something I would dump a lot of money into, truthfully. Litecoin, I do think Litecoin has a bright future because it's not corrupted by the digital currency group as much. I mean, that's either that or Bitcoin Cash, which is what the digital currency group fights against. So as a means of exchange, I'd say Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin.
Yeah, and Bitcoin Cash. Let's see, what was it? Bitcoin Cash. There were 4 coins that were just taken off of Coinbase's wallet. And they
if anybody's on Coinbase, you are crazy. You are nuts. Get the hell out of there.
Get out of there.
There's no coins there.
This is even just their wallet. This wasn't on the exchange, but they took them off, and their reasoning was for lack of use.
Those are the kind of coins you want. It means the digital currency group isn't up in there rigging the price.
So it was like XLM, Bitcoin Cash. I can't remember the other 2. I don't know. Go watch Litecoin Leader's video. He mentions them, and it was just strange to me. But I also have noticed Reggie having a interesting. He had one video, a couple. I don't know if it was last summer or the summer before, with the Bitcoin Cash guy, and then I accidentally poked the bear on Twitter for the Bitcoin Cash guy was talking to somebody about them.
You mean Roger Weir?
Yeah, infringing on his IP, and I was like, yeah, and when you're done with that, you both can go pay Reggie for infringing on his IP. And then
I don't think Bitcoin Cash infringes.
It doesn't, and I was wrong, and Reggie saved my butt. And so then they start having a conversation. Reggie's like, that doesn't infringe, actually. Or he was explaining. Yeah, he was explaining a different way of how it works or whatever, or the way it does. Anyway, but they had a great conversation about how it all plays out. And I was like, oh, whew, okay, thanks.
If you link Bitcoin Cash on a smart contract to something else, yes, that would.
That's where he was saying if there's a third party involved or something like that. But if it's direct peer-to-peer, then it's not. Anyway, very interesting stuff. I'm learning so much. It was pretty wild. I'm so proud of my mom, so thankful for her introducing us. She followed you for so many years, and Uncle Cliff, and you taught her so much, and just have been the godfather of our family and part of our family's history and legacy.
Your mom is awesome.
My mom
she calls herself a riverboat gambler. I'm a
riverboat. You have to write a song about her being the riverboat gambler. That's what you need to do. And that would be cool. And then she gave Litecoin to me and my husband as a wedding gift in 2017. And so that was our introduction. And then we're like, but why? And so that's why
That's
how I found,
opening the
right. That was the
first
education of us for how our financial system being broken, and took us down the rabbit hole. And that's how Uncle Cliff explains that crypto will open people's eyes and be the education. And I think this FTX thing,
Oh, it's huge.
people are hearing about it because Legacy Financial was invested into FTX. So all these people are going to lose their pensions, and these normies are going to be affected, and they're going to hear word crypto, and they're going to have their eyes open to how broken the financial system is, and they're going to have the education through crypto. And I think we're right there.
I think it's a great kind of parable to what goes on in the comics. The comic criminal derivative exchange. FTX, the company, they said, oh, Ledger X is the derivatives. It was all derivatives.
Right.
It was all fake. I mean, they created the FTT token. I mean, the exchange traded token is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. You give an exchange creates a token out of thin air and says, "Oh yeah, you buy and sell with this." It's just like a stable coin, and it was so ridiculous.
It's literally going to a casino and them giving you a chip.
Worse than that. It's because it can go away in an instant, in which we saw FTT disappear in an instant. The tether can disappear in an instant. There is nothing backing tether. There's no company back there. It's the crypto cabal, as I call them. It all goes back to the deep state. I mean, I know of a person who went to one of the members' headquarters out of the country, and their house was guarded by Homeland Security dogs with literal patches, United States Homeland Security. That's how deep the deep state goes.
Wow. That's wild. Someone in the chat gave a update. I don't know that this is true, but thank you, Mateo. If that's true, we'll find out.
Somebody had asked about Caleb and Brown. Is it safe? I don't think any exchange is safe.
Yeah. The thing with,
you got to buy crypto somewhere. It's like, can you get in and out fast enough to get your money out? I don't know. Right now, I don't think anything is safe to deal in at all for the next couple of months.
Yeah, I don't think anything's safe. And I don't believe in stable coins.
There's nothing stable about it.
Nothing stable about it. But like Bick says, get to know your local silver guy, silver dealer, and get to know your neighbors and your friends.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God, neighbors, close friends and family.
Start going to your local. On Saturdays, we're going to the farmers market, getting to know our local farmers market. We have a friend that has it's like a farmers market grocery store that she's got 2 locations, one on each end of town here. And she coordinates with local farmers. And so we've been eating at her little restaurant and connecting with her. And that's where I think the smart move is.
Secure your food source.
Yeah. And get some coffee if you need that caffeine, because they're finally talking about it. We've been talking about it for a while, but
the end of coffee. We have so much coffee.
That's good. Yeah, we have ours freezed or food dried or whatever it's called.
Vacuum packed.
Sealed. Yeah, vacuum packed. So, yeah, everybody, no, not even Kraken is safe. Sorry.
Especially not in exchange. And don't get me wrong, like Caleb and Brown, Kraken, Jimmy, they're probably great people trying to do a good job. The reality is when the fiat system fails, their banks are shut too.
Yeah.
The ability to transfer anything will be gone. And don't expect like the guards at your silver storage area to be standing there saying, okay, I'll stand here and guard your silver while my family's starving. No, they're the first ones to take the silver, the guards.
And as they go down, the other thing is that remember that there's a huge lawsuit right now that Reggie would not have taken on had he not been very sure about being able to win. And he's suing Coinbase and many of its little small or many of its iterations or subsidies. Yeah. And as that giant falls, the rest will fall in line. And so just be careful out there, guys. We're going through the transition. Hold on to what you got and
Sit in your
watch.
lawn chair and watch the action. That's what I tell
Yes.
all my subscribers. Get your physical silver in
Mhm.
your own possession. If you have gold, swap it for physical silver as fast as you can. I've proven 100 times since Sunday that there's probably 1 million tons of gold out there, 10 times what they're saying, maybe 20 times what they're saying.
Mhm.
And I have yet to find after all this time. And I found one huge deposit of silver that was hidden, and that was at the Manhattan Project in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. They made these calutrons where they had to borrow 3 billion ounces of silver in
Mhm.
the 1940s. I found that. Other than that, I have never, ever, ever, ever been able to find a secret silver mine, silver stash. Now, there's a lot of silver in the United States that they just shut down the mines and will reopen them at some point in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, in all throughout the West. But if you look at the amount of land owned by the U.S. government, it is shocking how much the federal government owns. They own
The national parks.
43% of California's land is owned by the federal government. They just put them in
Mhm.
national parks,
Yep.
military bases, save the spotted toad. I need
Yep.
1 million acres here. Dianne Feinstein was the biggest one to do all of that, actually, in Southern California. So just keep an eye out on, I don't think there's much silver. I think silver will go 1-to-1 with gold as it passes it by.
Yeah, I think that's on its way. It's pretty exciting. Well, thank you. I'll talk to you forever. I'll keep you on here all night. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all your knowledge with us and the community. I appreciate all you've done for us for all these years and fighting the fight. And we can't wait to hear you sing. Come back out and sing with us. And I'll always be your backup girl.
I know you will. And your channel's awesome. I don't know why there aren't. You don't have like 1 million followers already. It's
Because
great
I'm
stuff.
super shadow banned, and
You
it's
are.
okay.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's all right. Freedom is coming, and I'm
Everybody,
going to be
hey,
there for it.
like and subscribe. Look below. Like and subscribe.
Like and
And then
subscribe. I'm
watch.
here to.
We'll do all like and subscribe drive, and all of a sudden your viewers will go down by half.
That's all right. I'm here for it. I'm here for every bit of it. So I really appreciate you, and I love being here for the community. We have great live chat. Make sure that you're here. We do a show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you're here with us for the live, our chats are amazing. There's
The
lots of
Mighty
great
Sirens.
information.
What's it called?
And the Mighty Sirens on Mondays. Right now we're doing a book study together on boundaries, and starting January we'll be doing a fast, a cleanse on with Amy Weir on her raw food reboot, and that'll be challenging, but we're gonna do it.
Why are you doing it in January? February is the shortest month of the year. Actually, it's only
Well,
3.
it's a 3 week. It's not changing. It's not going longer because it's January. It's 3 week. Yeah, but we're doing it in January, and then we're gonna. Our goal is to do a meetup either the end of January or beginning of February, and we're dragging you out there with us, Bix Weir.
Okay, just tell me where to go.
Okay, we'll make a plan. We'll announce it here and have you on. So, thanks, guys, for watching us. Please give this a like and share the information with everybody, and subscribe. Take care, guys. Thanks, Bix.
You're welcome.